Okay, hello and welcome back. If you don't know, my name is Shea and I help busy author moms create their fantasy romance novel. And today we're going to talk about the 7 deadly mistakes that you want to avoid in a fantasy romance. If you don't know me, I've been writing for, I guess, about 6-7 years now. And my first 3 were self-published, and now I have traditionally published books. My second in the series, The White Wolf's Woe, just came out on October 23rd. So that was exciting. We also all promptly got sick directly following that. And so I'm still a little under the weather, but you know, that's just how life works. So you roll with the punches. So today, again, 7 deadly mistakes fantasy romance authors make. So number 1 is the weak world building. So this is a somewhat subjective thing because not everyone is George R.R. Martin, and you may not have the entire history of Westeros in the back of your mind, and maybe you don't want that either, but it still shouldn't fall flat. So there's, you know, different levels to it. My favorite author that I love is actually Patricia Briggs. There we go. And she has the whole Mercy Thompson series, and I love that world. I love all the world building that she has. And that's not as in-depth as, let's say, George R.R. Martin. So there's different levels, but you still want to have consistent world building that makes sense so that, you know, it doesn't fall flat and it keeps your readers interested and intrigued the entire time. Number 2 is cliche characters. Again, somewhat of a subjective thing. You know, the definite ones where, ooh, I went too far in my notes. You know, the chosen one, the dark brooding hero. You want to have elements like that. That's what readers are there for. They love the tropes, but definitely try to include twists along the way that keeps it engaging and keeps it fun, and so that it's not just like, oh, here we go again. Number 3, inconsistent magic systems. So magic is, of course, the heart of a fantasy romance novel, but inconsistency can break the immersion of it. So define clear rules and limitations in your magic system so that it creates tension, you know. So similar to, and again, I hope I'm not ruining any of these, but A Throne of Glass, she does really well with the very clear magic systems, and their magic can deplete. So it creates tension when their magic is getting depleted. So maybe come up with your own strengths and weaknesses within your magic system. You can always pull from other things that you do like. That will definitely help move the plot along. Number 4, overcomplicated plots. So intricate plots can be great, but they can also be very confusing. Again, to reference George R.R. Martin, I love him, and I love all of the Game of Thrones. I really do, just simply from a mind-blowing perspective. But when I was watching the series with my husband, who's not much of a reader, constantly he'd be pausing it and be like, wait, who's that again? So it's great. And even when I was reading it, sometimes I'd have to reference like, wait, okay, so that's a Greyjoy, or that's, you know, related to a Stark, or this is whoever. So it's a little overcomplicated, but at least for George R.R. Martin, there was like the maps and there was the house, you know, lists with all the different families and all the different people, but that can be very time consuming. Maybe keep it a little simpler if that's not something that you want to dive into. Number 5 is neglecting the pacing. So pacing is huge because you want your novel to feel natural, but also, again, try not to drag it out. For myself, I wanted to have a lot of books out as quickly as I could. So some people do say that the pacing is a little too fast, and I don't disagree. But there are other plans that I have for the future. So think about where you are in your career and where you want to go. Patricia Briggs even had a very funny story that I had read. I want to say it was in one of the backs of her novels where she kind of discussed all the problems with her first novel or even her second novel, and how later on they did go back and fix a lot of that. But you do want to think about that. So early in her career, she also didn't know as much, but at the same time, you just keep going. You got to go with it, but keep pacing in mind. Think about the natural progression of things. Focus on the central storyline, and balance action and introspection to ensure that all of the actions have a reason for happening, that they're not just random, because that can also be frustrating. Number 6 is ignoring emotional depth. So it's more than epic battles and quests. It's about the emotional journey of your character. So dive deep into their fears and their desires and relationships to create a personal story that connects with readers. Again, can be somewhat of a difficult one because there are also themes or different understandings for different people. So let me think of how I'd like to use an example, because in my novels I focus a lot on mental health. So some people find that maybe they're a little bit too whiny or whatever, which is fine, but maybe those people aren't as accustomed to certain mental health issues as some other people are. Some other people love it because they're like, I really relate to this. So take it with a grain of salt, but definitely try to include, the who, what, where, when, and why people do the things that they do, because these are like real human beings that we are making up in our heads. Number 7 is lack of editing and feedback. Finally, never underestimate the power of editing and feedback. So definitely get another set of eyes on your book so that they can catch some of those inconsistencies. If you are not using an agent or have not found an agent, if you're not using an editor, there are services like Fiverr.com. I use this wonderful woman, Susan Keller. I hope she's okay with me shouting her out here, but she's great. She always catches those little things and is great at giving the feedback. Fiverr.com has a lot. Hot Tree Publishing, you can pay just for their editors, and then you can always self-publish. But even if you just have a friend that likes to read that would be interested in helping you find those little things. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just get another set of eyes on it, and always use a service. I have used Grammarly for many years, and recently I'm thinking of switching to Pro Writing Aid, because I didn't know they had so many different things, and I don't have an affiliate link for Pro Writing Aid yet. I probably should do that soon, but that is for the future. So by avoiding those 7 deadly mistakes, you'll be well on your way to crafting a fantasy romance novel that enchants and captivates. And if you found this helpful, definitely hit the like button and subscribe and follow me for more. And let me know where you're at in your journey. I'd love to hear, whether you are just starting out, if you're still just thinking about it, if you have written an entire manuscript and now you don't know what to do with it, definitely let me know. Stay tuned, and thank you for watching.